When footsteps fall in eldritch hollows, and spectres flee into the shadows, that is the time when horror's heroes abound, culling the ghouls that go bump in the night.
Good morning, come on in. Coffee's good, fresh and hot. There's a waffle in the baker on the grill. We're making bacon. You're always welcome back.
Charge!
Hello, everybody. Good morning, I think it is here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm coming to you from the heart of Lovecraft Country and the birthplace of American religious liberty. My name is Shanth Enjeti. This is Shanth Enjeti Art, folks. And we're here to have some fun and have some waffles. We must have waffles forthwith. So, for those of you guys who are new around here, and I think I've got some seasoned veterans around here, I used to do this show called The Late Night Waffle Lodge back when I first launched Nosfero, and what it was a throwback to all of those amazing times I had on Brainerd Road in Chattanooga, Tennessee at the Waffle House, because I just loved hanging out there with my friends, having breakfast anytime, coffee as well, and occasionally out of that vending machine, a little pack of smokes. So those were good times. Nobody carded. Waffles are good 24 hours a day, as it says in the song, Woden Shot. Let me be very clear about this. You know what's up. Waffles are good. Chicken with waffles, even better. Jeremy Burtz is here. Welcome, Jeremy Burtz. I'm not sure what to make of the scale on this thing. Hang on a second here. I want to try to dynamic. Is that, yeah, whoa, that is serious. Wow, holy Christmas. So we're going to see what's going on. Good morning, David D. It is great to see you. I know Eric Huffles. I know it. What is up, Matt Studio? Hail, chat. And Shanth, hail to you, Matt B. Studio. It is good to see you, my friend. Let me see who else I've got here. I've got some channel members in the house, if I'm not mistaken. I've got Jeremy Burtz in the house. Welcome, Jeremy Burtz. I've got Eric Huffles in the house. Great to see you, Eric Huffles. I just updated the end of the show credits, so I've got everybody's names in it who's a new channel member. Of course, I have Shane Davis's main bird. What in the Sam Hill, dare I say, is going on with my, it never seems to work out, does it? But we'll do our best. Shane Davis's main bird calling for caca. Yaira's screaming in the trailer, Yoko Ono style. It is what it is. Rasputin's here. What's up? Shanth is angling to be the king of late night streamers. Oh my God. Yeah, that I remember those days, and I think those days are coming back, folks. I think those days are coming back. So it's a crazy kind of thing because my kids have gone off to school, and of course they will be returning at various points in the summer. But we are empty nesters, the missus and I, and it's been kind of crazy because when those kids were young and I was taking them to school and then driving up to my job, which was 90 miles away and all of that kind of stuff, one of the things about it that was crazy is I was doing these late nights to stream because that was the only time I could stream. But I was watching John Malin. I was on X as I was going to sleep last night. John Malin would go, and what the heck's going on? Nobody's streaming. And then I watched his grill stream this morning, and a wave of guilt just washed over me. And I thought, oh my God, I gotta start streaming more at night because I know a lot of you guys are all across the world on the West Coast and all of that stuff. And I'm on the East Coast, but I keep crazy hours. So I've just been working on SPRINGBALL. Oh my God, and Nosfero 16, 17 hours a day. I mean, I'm getting almost, and that, I mean, straight working at it. Like, I'm not getting any sleep, and I don't want to sleep. And I get into that phase sometimes, and I'm just kind of going with it because it's helping with... I just made my glasses worse. It's helping with the... if the story is working, and if you want to work, just go, guys. And we are at over 16,000, almost 17K on SPRINGBALL. And guys, I am here to tell you, I'm here to report from the front lines, live from the heart of Lovecraft Country, in the newly refurbished and open Waffle Lodge. Folks, that book is going to be kick-ass. It is looking so good. As many of you guys may know, and I may do a walk down memory lane and show some old work. I found a portfolio I used to bring around when I'd go into, give talks at, art things and whatever I would get asked to do. Whenever my missus asks me to do something, I'm going to do it. And so I have all of this artwork that is basically almost the full run of various points in my life, going all the way back to college, going all the way back to 1995, like 30 years old. And I would just show people, when I went there, look, this is how I started. This is where I ended up. And it was so wild looking at that stuff. But I was drawing in this style that was very, I had several styles going. A more Dave Stevens, Jeff Darrow ink style, which was just, I love that classic Wally Wood style. And then I had a very Steve Ditko, Todd McFarlane style, which was, heavy on Todd McFarlane. And that's what I did Springball in. Hey, what's up, Venom Bite? It's good to see you, my friend. How are you doing? I'm still working through the old Ethan versus Jason Youngbluth debate on Recadas, man. That guy, oh my God, are you serious? Wow, that was like a trip down memory lane, my God. And so I'm working on Springball, and I'm working in this style, and the craziest thing about it, it's glad to hear it, Venom Bite. The craziest thing about it was, after all of this time painting and being a painter and doing all of the work that I do, which if you're not familiar with the stuff that I paint, this is the stuff that I paint. Like, this is how I paint Nosfero. So this is the kind of approach I take when I'm doing Nosfero and doing that work. And in fact, it's kind of funny that I'm showing that when I could just show this, Nosfero the Crypt Walker. This is the first edition. It's available still on Indiegogo. I'm going to close it out, or I'm going to close down the campaign. It's in demand right now. Once I get once we get to the end of the Springball campaign and it goes in demand. But this is how I tend to work. Now, maybe, you guys, what's up, Big Boy Robo? It's great to see you, man. How you doing, brother? Yeah, Snake Coon. Yes, indeed. When you guys, God, I totally just lost my train of thought, which usually I do better on this stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, so I hadn't worked in that style in ages, and I was really reluctant to go back to Springball until, my friend Rocky showed it on stream, and people were like, wow, this is really cool. And he had sent me this note while I was fulfilling Nosfero, because he was with me during the birth of this character and all of that stuff. And then, in passing, I sent a message to John Malin on X, and I said, hey, John, just wanted to show you my first self-published comic I did in 2002. And I said, and it was so hard back then, going through Diamond and doing all that stuff before Comicsgate. And I was like, I'm so grateful to Comicsgate, because something like Nosfero would never have been possible. And so I just showed it to him as a, hey, look, this is, how far back it goes. And he was like, what is this? You should do something with this. I love it. And I was like, oh, okay. And you guys kept reacting to it, but I think hearing John's take on it really gave it some gravity, because I know, like me, he's got a similar view of Todd McFarlane's work as I do, which is, I look at it and I just go, there's something about his stuff that is just special, and it's not, it's idiosyncratic. It's not something that's got a particular system to it, and you have to learn how to play. So to make an already way too long story shorter, the thing that kind of came out of that is, through the process of me painting, I loosened up my work and my approach, and I just decided I'm going to create Springball full color, and I'm just going to paint it digitally and with line, just like in that stylistic, and occasionally go for that Ren and Stimpy kind of like, you zoom in and you see a more painterly creature, but totally like an animation sort of style. I love seeing the robots in the chat, Big Boy Robo. It's great to see you, man. And it was just one of those crazy. Did I miss somebody? Oh, Darth. Is it Darth? Is it Gutierrez? Am I pronouncing that right? Darth Gutierrez? I had a student with that last name, but I've heard different people pronounce it differently. But Darth Gutierrez, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And apologies if I am not. My name is Shanth. It's a nightmare. So, I'm with you if I'm pronouncing it wrong. My apologies. But yeah, so I just was thinking, I'm going to go back and I'm going to take a look at this stuff. And for those of you guys who are curious about like where was Springball and where's it been, so, and I don't know when this was published. When was this published? Oh, nothing like a little dead air for me because I run a professional thing here. Oh, so 2019. Holy cow! So about 6 years ago, there was a book called Comic Book Perspective, a crash course, and this British publisher is always contacting me and asking me for rights questions because they saw the book a while back and they wanted to use it. So if you want to know where you can see examples of Springball, it's actually been published in all of these comic books at various times. So this is a page from Springball Book 2 that was published in this comic artist workbook that came out. So these people have been publishing this stuff. And then a while back, and this was the 3rd edition? God, this was the 3rd edition already? My God. This would have been 2005, 20 years ago. My God. Quattro Publishing. And Quattro Publishing, I guess who was through a similar outfit, was using the same images. So they were using this from Springball issue 2, and then I think they did, where is it? Oh yeah, they did these 2 pages from Springball issue 2 as well. And so, yeah, Springball was all over. Oh, I pronounced it perfect. I'm so glad. Excellent. Thank you. I'm working on it, Darth. I'm working on it, So Springball's been around and people have known about it. I've had fans of the book from 2002 way back, who bought it and got it in the shops. But it pretty much just went away, and I had no thought of going back to it and doing anything with it because it was so tough to do the first time. I kind of moved on. It was sort of, I did a couple of work jobs like for I did a Starship Troopers job. I did a Flash Gordon 75th anniversary where Len Wein wrote a short story. So I've done some comic jobs, but I was mainly working as a teacher and then doing concept design and concept art for like Hasbro, Mattel. I did some stuff for DreamWorks Consumer Products and then freelance illustration work. So comics wasn't really, I loved comics, but it was tough. I used to tell people that comics was like that ex-girlfriend you can't get over, which I don't really have. I'm married to the girl of my dreams, thank God. But it's like that thing. It's like whenever I was doing something, comics would call at the wrong time. So like 2 newborns in the house. We had twin newborns at that point. Comics calls, and it was just that constantly. And so that was the thing. Yeah, good save, Sean, says Wodenshot. Wodenshot, you know what I'm talking about. You got to be careful. You can never be too careful. They're always watching. And so, yeah, so I kind of, I don't want to sound, I guess I can. I really thought it was a cool concept. I don't think this, to be honest, the story is what a 25-year-old would write. And it had its things to it, but I never really had an angle for going back to it, and I'm kind of like, let's not have this be the book you keep coming back to, and we got a family to take care of, so I'm like, I've got to, pursue whatever opportunities were in front of me, and I started getting teaching jobs and teaching offers at colleges, actually, at Rhode Island School. I got offered teaching jobs at 3 schools the same semester. And one of them was Rhode Island School of Design, which is where I went to school, and which is mentioned in the Call of Cthulhu. If you're a Lovecraft fan, which I am, you will hear Rhode Island School of Design mentioned in it. And my mentor's studio was actually the same studio, the artist who sculpts the Cthulhu sculpture, who went to my alma mater. It's really bizarre, the coincidence. Anyway, so I kind of put this to bed, and it was really when you guys, Comicsgate, wow, that was cool. Little sound effect on my chair there. You guys, Comicsgate. I'll have to remember that when I'm doing sound effects for a new trailer. But you guys showed up, and you guys loved this character. You guys were like, you got to do something with this, so I'm blaming you. And then John showed up and kind of was like, looked at it and goes, you should do something with this. And, one of the things I love about Comicsgate, and one of the things that I appreciate about Comicsgate is this partial quote that people seldom hear the full quote of, which is The customer is always right in matters of taste. That's the actual quote that makes sense. The customer is always right in matters of taste. And what you know if you've ever had a job is the customer isn't always right, because I used to work in a movie theater, and if you have two customers saying, I was first in line, somebody's wrong. And you're going to have to deal with that, or people who, shoplift comes to mind, all sorts of stuff. But, so that never made sense to me, but the customer is always right in matters of taste means if a customer wants to buy something from you that you have, sell it to them. Let them have it. Yes, I am an indescribable cosmic horror. I certainly feel like my office is, Eric. It is diabolical right now. I do all of my work out of this office. It is just a landfill right now. It's horrible. It really is horrible and diabolical at the same time. So yeah, so I started looking at my stuff, and I started, saying to myself, who am I to say if people want this character to bring this character back to life? I can come up with a story, which was the big part of it. I want to tell a story from 2025, which is to say not a news story from 2025, but what would a superhero be doing in a fictional sort of comic book city of this time that's a cross between Innsmouth and Max Fleischer's Superman Metropolis. And it all started coming together, man. Yeah, I do need to have Rocky back over to organize. If Rocky's up, I'll send him a link. He should get himself in here. It's only midnight there, for God's sake. Rock, if you're watching this and you're listening to it on the couch or something like that, seriously, if you're out on a date, just come home and get on the stream. There, I said it. Thank you. I appreciate that, Comrade Sammy. I should have said that sooner. It's partially his fault why all this is happening anyway, when you think about it. So, I kind of wanted to tell a story, but this is the crazy thing. So, I'm inspired by certain things. Certain things led to SPRINGBALL. One of them, something that inspired it that a lot of people don't know, is 3 artists I was introduced to my freshman year of college that I had kind of been aware of. One of them, which was Jeff Darrow from Hardboiled. And then the others were Dave Stevens, the Rocketeer, and Mike Allred's Madman. And around that time, all these people were kind of working out of this imprint at Dark Horse called Legend. But I loved how Madman had this fun retro comic feel. And actually, Mike Allred inked one of my sample pages, one of the figures on my sample pages when I met him at a convention, was showing my samples around. He was a great guy. But there were all these amazing artists doing things. But another thing that inspired me was this book that came out in 1992. And I lost this book. And so I ordered it when you guys out there gave SPRINGBALL such an amazing opening weekend. I said, I've got to buy this. It isn't even that expensive. But I got to buy this for myself because it needs to be in my collection. This edition of the book. And here's what it was. Yes, I know. This issue has been a subject of conversation for a while. But if any of you guys remember when this was published in 1992, Amazing Fantasy number 15, of course. And this was the thing that got me thinking about how we do comics. And I want to show you what I saw out of this, if that's all right. If you want to understand, I'm not saying SPRINGBALL is going to have this. It'll have some cool stuff in it, but I'm not saying it's going to have, okay, let me rephrase that. SPRINGBALL is going to have a lot of love for this kind of comics. Yeah, I'm squandering. I am. I am. If you guys knew how stressed we are with that stuff, we just it's in this thing. It's got, my wife was talking to me and she goes, it's not enough to have it in this own space. We need to set up its own account, go to the bank. She's hilarious, man. But that's, you guys know, if you've gotten books from me, we're just I pack those things within an inch of my life. We are careful with all of that stuff because it stresses us out. But here's what I noticed. I knew the story of Spider-Man. What I loved was, I don't know if you guys can see it, was this stuff that Steve Ditko did. Things like this. Now, I'm not doing this stuff as much as I may explore it because I want to do a new version of all this stuff. But this was the stuff that got me excited about comics. But here's the thing that freaked me out when I read this book. This really freaked me out when I read this book. 1, this is the origin of Spider-Man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you've seen, sorry, spoiler alert, if you've seen the first movie. 6, 7. This is part 2, starts on page 7. This is amazing. 8, 9, 10. Is that right? Sweet heavens. 10, 11. And then there's I loved this stuff. The Secret of Spider-Man's Mask and how it works. But let me explain this to you guys. Steve Ditko and Stan Lee told the origin of Spider-Man in 11 pages. That whole first movie, essentially, or that whole first part of that first movie, is not even the first issue of The Amazing Spider-Man. It's Amazing Fantasy 15, and it was 11 pages in that book. And so I just sat down and I was looking at Springball, and I go, well, I'm not going to do that linear of a story, but my God, yes! Thank you. Yeah, Eric knows what I'm talking about, guys. This is what I love about comics, and this is what I love about Comicsgate. Yep, Amazing Fantasy 15? What's that? Inquiring minds want to know. Yeah, I can't even overstate how crazy that is to not know what that book is. It really is nuts. Like, that was a poster, particularly during the last couple of decades. That was a poster in every local comic shop. That cover. I knew what that issue was before I knew what was in it. Interesting. Yeah, Amazing Fantasy was an anthology book. There were like 5 different stories in the original book. So here's the interesting thing. Funny enough, I did not get into Ditko with Amazing Spider-Man. That wasn't the first Ditko work I saw. I saw a couple of art books on his stuff, some of his crazier stuff, but in particular, Pacific Comics Presents had a Steve Ditko series they were running of one of his characters called Missing Man. This guy with glasses who was invisible, but you could always see his arms and legs and things like that. And so, yeah, like, that was the real difficulty for me when I was trying to think about what I wanted to do with Springball. And you could see I was just in love with the bevel and emboss tool. God help me. And I still kind of am, to be honest. But this is, like, how I was drawing stuff back in the day. This was me, doing the things that I, did back during that time. But I was always trying to find really cool, ways to create panels that were engaging and ways to tackle stories. And so if you can find these books out there, guys, this one, we sold 150 of these in the first 24 hours and for this campaign. And we're the only people, I think, who have a lot of 2s. 2s are really hard to find, but they might be easier to find once we fulfill this campaign, because I'm going to be shipping out a lot of 2s. Issue 1, I think we have 4 copies of this, maybe, and they're not in great shape, as you guys can see. So and we're not going to sell them because they're all we have. Like, they're the only evidence we have of this book. I mean, we're just as likely to buy them on eBay if we see them than you guys are. So I've heard some people pick them up for a couple of bucks. If you have that chance to get it, do it, because the artwork in the new book will be a much larger, it'll be an 8.5 by 11 format. Totally, like, the artwork, if you have these books and you've seen me work on it, is completely different. And it is, well, completely, you can see where everything started from, but the differences are definitely noticeable. Like, there's definitely a big, there's some overlap. So let me see what I have here. I'm just kind of curious if I have the ability. I don't think I have the ability to do that per se, but let me see. Oh, yeah, doesn't Ferrari buy back cars too? You're in good company. Yeah, Ferrari does, but I don't know if I'm Ferrari, but God bless you, Woden Shot, for that. And yes, thank you for dropping the link, guys. Springball, let me talk a little bit about this too. Springball Terminal Monstrosity, okay? So Springball is a character that has been brought back to life thanks to the encouragement of Rocky, my brother, whose YouTube channel you should check out. It's a great comic channel, and he does master copies, inking pages. He's just a terrific guy. I've known him for 30 years. We were groomsmen at each other's weddings. We've watched each other's kids grow up. It's wild to think about. Our eldest and minor twins are both off in college now, and his son is in college. It's crazy to think about. And so the thing that's so interesting to me about all of this stuff is that without him and without John Malin, both in terms of, launching the first Comicsgate book with Jawbreakers and your boy Zach, but then also John encouraging me to do something with Springball, I would not have... old school Schizo, man. Dude, I just read that. Oh, thanks, man. You guys. Yeah, every now and again, you guys get, like, my poor wife, every now and again, it's a part of the internet, but she'll see something on the internet and someone will say something like, just, not terrible by our sort of standards, but she's it's always funny to her because I'm just going, by and large, I was like, people are really supportive and really cool, and I appreciate that, man. It's like, I love comics, I love Comicsgate, and I love Lamp, obviously, but I've been doing Comicsgate, stuff since God, what is it, 2019 now? So I think if you go to my Instagram, I think it was July 2019. I'm a little bit on the spectrum there, so I remember a lot of things. But that was the first time I posted Comicsgate fan art on my Instagram, which at that point had like 20 or 30,000 followers. So it wasn't like it was easy. I was also a college teacher, so it's not like there wasn't any risk. And it was art from the Red Rooster. If you go back that far, I was actually showing my copy of the crowdfunded Red Rooster on stream the other day because I go back like pretty far. Yeah, I say terrible things pretty much hourly. I know what you mean. Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, man. So glad to hear that, sir. Yeah, I that totally is. I don't know what to say. That's inspiring, man. There's never been anything like this in comics, So when I was growing up in Chattanooga, there was a comic book store called American Collectors Exchange. And if you were like me, a kid, and you didn't have a car, you had to go over Chickamauga Dam, which is this massive hydroelectric, plant dam with no sidewalk, nothing. It's just cars. You had to have a buddy with an older brother to get to the comic shop. Like, I was out in the sticks, man. And it was such a big deal to go to the comic shop. But when you went there, I guess it was like going to Toys R Us, when you're a little kid, which sadly is no more as well. And you just go in there and it was like you were an archaeologist, like digging through these things. And so the way that I got into comics, which was really funny, is that I loved to draw and I hung out with people who liked comics and liked, Dungeons and Dragons, and they'd have me draw their characters and stuff like that. And one of my closest friends at the time was a kid named Zach. And I know his first, middle, and last name, but I try not to say it because it's just like my memory just holds a lot of stuff. But Zach was just a terrific guy, and he's like, walked up to me one day. Your boy Zach, it was your boy Zach back then. But he's my boy Zach. I think I could say that, my boy Zach. I did talk to him a couple of years ago just to thank him and say hey, and he has my info, so it's nice. Like, we reconnected. But he came up to me and he goes, I got these Marvel Comics pins. Man, I would kill to have these Marvel Comics pins from that era. And he goes, I'm the Hulk. I'm taking the Hulk pin. You can pick any pin you want on this, pin sheet they had. Those little enamel pins they had back then. And the one I saw that I thought was cool was an enamel pin. And so this would have been 1988 or 89, I think, was called The Punisher. And he showed me the Punisher Limited Series #1 by Mike Zeck, who is one of my favorite artists to this day, is Mike Zeck. And I just saw that and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. He also showed me a comic book by an artist named Tim Vigil called Grips. And I remember when he showed me Grips, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So if you look at the cover of Nosfero, what you will see is he's got this Thulu-like kind of skull belt, which was very inspired by the Punisher. He looks a little bit like the Phantom, who's another character from that time and that pulp sort of thing, but he's got that Punisher thing. And then the other thing is this cover is essentially see if I can find it here. Will I find it? Nope. That was a valiant effort. Oh, there it is. This cover is inspired by the cover of Grips #1 by Tim Vigil. So there's a lot of nods to my comic book history in this cover. And throughout this book, there's nods to the comics I love. So Mike Zeck's Punisher was the first thing I got into. So here's the funny part, or the interesting part of it. So my buddy Zach is like, the Hulk is my favorite character. And I'm like, I used to like the Hulk when I was growing up. You know, I was like, I love that comic. And, or sorry, not that comic. I love that TV show with Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby. He goes, no, this ain't that Hulk, man. This Hulk is cool. And I was like, the Lou Ferrigno Hulk was pretty cool. And I love Bill Bixby, man. I mean, Bill Bixby is just an awesome actor. Courtship of Eddie's Father and all that stuff was just incredible stuff. And he says to me, he goes, no, Hulk is gray now. And he's like a werewolf. And he changes into Hulk at night. And I went, whoa. That's really cool. And he goes, and it's drawn by this guy. You can never believe this, man. In the issue I have, one of the issues I just got, he fights Wolverine. And I went, he does? He was like, yeah, man, it's badass. And he goes, and it's drawn by this guy named Todd McFarlane. We didn't know how to pronounce his name until we saw the videos. And I said, Todd McFarlane. I think it was McFarlane. That's how he pronounced it. Yeah, Todd McFarlane. And so he shows me, after I collect Punisher for a bit, he shows me his Hulk collection. He was letting me borrow the individual issues. And I saw Todd's work, and particularly Hulk 340, and I was like, I've got to be a comic book artist. That was it. And I should actually backtrack a little bit, because the first comic he introduced me to, he did introduce me to a comic before that, was the first publication, which is to say the publishing company first, of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first collection, with the painted cover by Kevin Eastman. And I was like, oh, I'm never going to be able to paint. But man, I love this comic. And the Turtles were like, kiss your butt goodbye and all that stuff in those early publications. So Mirage Comics was really inspiring to me. And I was like going, man, where's this place like Northampton, Massachusetts? Because it said that's where they were from. And I'm like, I don't even know where that is. Is that New York? And so I never thought I would end up in New England. So those were kind of my formative experiences as far as comics goes. And so, you know, when I decided, like, okay, like, you know, I'm going to do Comicsgate, I basically had no idea how this was going to go at all. I've been in Comicsgate, backing comics, making trailers for people. I was already self-publishing my own books starting in 2019, I think, was the first one I did, inspired by Comicsgate, but I didn't have any of the network, any of the Comicsgate network or anything like that. I didn't know anybody in Comicsgate at all. And I was coming from a completely different field, so it was really nerve-wracking, and I didn't know anybody, and I'm, you know, I mean, about the only thing I had that I knew of these guys was that they were about my age, you know, and, but it was like, you know, in a lot of ways, it was like coming in somewhere new and not knowing anybody and just having, you know, the knowledge of comics, the art of comics, but, you know, and all that kind of thing. So, it is very strange to me to think about that. It's been what, 2000, give or take, let's say 2019, just to make sure it's not too, you know, I don't want to go too early on it, but 2019, I started hanging out, you know, in chats and saying hello to people in Comicsgate. I remember doing some of my first trailer and video work for Ethan. I would just send him videos and say, hey, he saw my artwork, and I think he talked about it on stream. I think it was in November of 2019, because again, guys, it's the Spectrum. Okay, so I always like to do this as a parlor trick, because whenever I cite dates, people go, how do you remember all that stuff? I'm probably going to get some of it wrong, because it's been a minute. But I believe it is Command Station. This is ST-321, code clearance, ST-321, code clearance blue. We're starting our approach. Deactivate the security shield. I have to look into my head to watch the movie. Security deflector shield will be deactivated, and we have confirmation of your code transmission. Stand by. You're clear to proceed. We're starting our approach. Inform the commander that Lord Vader's shuttle has arrived. Like, it's just in there. And I once went out with some buddies of mine and recited Return of the Jedi, like, from scratch. And I got, like, because he asked me for that for his birthday, which is weird. And I did it for, like, 30 minutes or so before he's like, okay, I believe you. You got that movie down. So, that's how my memory works. And so, so for me, the journey of doing comics and doing all of this stuff, I wanted to share some of it with you tonight. Because if you had told me that I was going to know anybody in Comicsgate when I was watching those streams, like anybody, like I would ever be on a stream with Ethan or John, and the people that were there, that I first met, I don't know when Shane came into Comicsgate. I mean, I remember it because, man, that guy had the biggest trial by fire. Like, whenever I see Shane's stuff doing well, it always puts a smile on my face because, man, Shane just came in and it's an amazing thing. It was an amazing thing to watch, you know. Saddest day in CG history, says Woden Shot. I know. Yeah, that first printing of it is still my favorite way of looking at it. I don't like what they did with the Shredder when they made his costume blue. But I remember when John had a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man as his pick and didn't go on camera, and then he was the two old guys from the Muppets. You guys know the ones, the hecklers. And so, yeah, it's weird to think about that kind of stuff. And then you're just sitting there one day, like, my daughter and my kids were young when they were doing, holy cow, I can't believe some of this stuff is in here. Wow. Okay. So here are the layout pages I used to do when I was doing my layouts. You can actually see some of that stuff in there. And that's layout pages from Starship Troopers. This is page 13. This right here is my first year out of school before I did Springball as a... holy cow, this is a trip. Before I did Springball as a full comic, I explored the idea of painting Springball. Look at this. When people go, this is me, 1995 would have been, this is not 1995, this is 1998. We're talking decades ago. This is like how... like hard I was working. Yes, Statler and Waldorf. Thank you, chat. I knew you guys would have it. Awesome. Yup. And I was learning how to paint because I was like, well, maybe I should try to do more realistic stuff like Alex Ross. Okay, this is some concept art. This is like a couple of years ago that I did for a video game design job for a buddy of mine. So this is me doing some environment design stuff for concept art. It was mostly video. I did a lot of digital stuff and did some video stuff. But this is some of the stuff that I did when I was sketching. So this is like what the concept art stuff looked like that I would do. In case you guys are curious to see this stuff. When people go, you know, what's your skill set and like what's the stuff you like to do? This is my skill set. Here's another environment design I did for this video game. I forget what it was released as, but it was a VR game. That was art directed, funny enough, by a former student of mine. So that was a pretty cool thing. Here's another character from that game. I dropped something, but God knows where it went. So this is another character design from that game. So I was always, you know, 2019. That's when I did this. I just noticed that I painted the year on there. So yeah, this was some concept stuff I did in 2019. Let me see what else I've got here. And so let me walk you through. Shane Davis doesn't have a skill set. He has a kill set because it's death listening to him. No, I think he's shit, man. Shane's the only guy I can talk to about boxing and fighting and the wood grain and Nosferatu. That's Woden Shot. That's hard to find, man, particularly at this age. All right, so if you guys want to see some crazy comic book pages, when I was going through, like, well, what would I, like, I don't know what I want to do with my stuff and comics and all that stuff. I started writing and painting some really, oh boy, Shane's ego is going to be out of control now. Sorry. It happens sometimes. Yeah, being positive is a weird thing, man. I was talking with my wife about this. I talked to her about this a lot, man. It's yeah. I'm really enthusiastic about stuff, and maybe it comes from teaching, but when I see stuff, I get excited. So this is me exploring a style. You can even see a nod to SPRINGBALL's face in this painting. This was me exploring a style of doing almost like a Miyazaki-style comic book, because I got really into Oga Kazuo's backgrounds from Studio Ghibli. So this is something I explored that was to never go anywhere, but this is just how you find your stuff. I couldn't tell you what year this is from, but for me, when people ask me, like, how do you have all these different things you can do? Man, it's been nonstop work since I could hold a pencil. You know, it's just been nonstop work. And so here I am playing around with, could I ever do a painted comic book? Answer, yes, but I have to wait for Comicsgate. So I don't know when I painted these, but these go back to my teaching career. So these probably started, like maybe these were done in 2005 or so, maybe 2005 or 6. For all I know, that's how long I've been sort of building up the skill set to be able to even contemplate doing a painted comic book. You want to see a really crazy character design? Guys, here you go. This is one of my character designs that I was playing around with. And these kinds of things led to concept art jobs and stuff like that, but I was doing some very, very trippy, crazy creature designs and just kind of exploring a lot of interesting visuals whenever I could, you know? Oh man, just crazy stuff, man. Here's some Lovecraftian stuff. A look at some of the ink work I used to do. And I still do. I mean, this is kind of a little bit of what you see in some of the SPRINGBALL stuff. What is this? More crazy storytelling ideas. Don't know where the heck this goes. This was really inspired by, I think, Mobius's Arzak, if I'm not mistaken. Here was another... This is just practicing. A lot of this stuff is just practicing. And just trying to figure out what you might be able to do with your artwork. You know? Building your skill set. I mean, I could fill just so much stuff with just my rejected sample pages. You know? Like what are all these things? You could tell I was looking at Arzak. I was looking at Mobius's stuff. Playing around with scale. Yeah, totally. Someone told me that. The long-legged elephants, Salvador Dali. Yeah, it was so wild. Yeah, I wasn't... I'm sure I had to have seen that image. I'm sure I had to have seen that image to me, because it has that kind of feel. Like the church on the back and stuff like that, which I was doing sort of a Stegosaurus thing. So here's another crazy illustration for just my brainstorming. This was some fun stuff where I tried taking some pages from a Star Wars comic book and doing sample ideas to see if that's something I could do. So here's a look at... I don't remember what the comic was, but this is me exploring doing some Star Wars samples. I don't know if I even showed that to somebody, because I did do some stuff for somebody at Lucasfilm once, but it wasn't Star Wars related. So I can't remember really. I mean, it was like a picture book proposal they were doing. Oh, nude figure painting. Always make sure you look at the work before you put it on stream. Oh, here's one I can do. That's from in the same style. This is Vladimir Klitschko's last heavyweight fight when he was trying to pick himself up off the canvas. Tales of the Jedi, that's what it is. Eric Huffles, holy cow, how did you know that? I had forgotten that. Yes, it was Tales of the Jedi. I don't even know what the character's name is. But nice. Good catch. So yeah, so this was 2017 when he fought Anthony Joshua. I was so inspired by the fight, I decided to do a painting of Vlad because it was clear he was going to retire after that, although he's thinking about coming back now. But it was just something about the hero. Oh, you own every Star Wars comic Dark Horse ever produced. Okay, well, there you go. Well, then you would be the expert on that, Eric Huffles. I will take your word for it, man. That's awesome. So let's see what I have here. Yes. Very cool. Okay. So, I saw this company trying to do King Kong Godzilla mashup, and it didn't work, but I just decided I wanted to screw around with it and see what I could come up with. So, God, I'd forgotten I'd done this, man. Look at how crazy that is. Just screwing around. Aetherline, how are you doing, man? It's good to see you. Read a lot of those Star Wars comics. Amen, man. Yeah. It's wild, man. Oh, yeah, so here's me exploring an early idea that would lead to Nosfero when the character had a different name. When I got my master's degree, I did a whole... I created a fictional artist couple, and then I created their fictional artwork and their fictional comic book stories. And I aged paper and created this whole comic book universe. And this is this stuff. Guys, I'm telling you, I never stopped working. This was my address in college. Does this look familiar to you guys? This was my address at college, and these were the business cards I would hand out. Does that look familiar to the Shanth Enjeti art logo? I was trying to do the Dave Stevens thing even then. So yeah, I was always trying to do stuff. So this is a whole thing I did for my thesis project. Take a look at this world I created to get my master's degree. Absolutely insanity. Isn't this nuts? Like, I forget how much stuff I've done, man. All of this stuff is stuff I own, man. It's like, just, create our own stuff. Here is... Should I show this? No, I probably shouldn't show this. It's the original art for the last page of Springball issue 1, which is going to be similar, so I shouldn't show that. Here we go. So this is an original piece of artwork from the Flash Gordon 75th anniversary, written by Len Wein, the creator of Wolverine, also had a rather famous run on Swamp Thing. So I got to work with Len Wein. Here's another Springball original art page. I think I was showing you the page of the comic book before, but this is the original artwork. Oh, Mesoamerican vibes from a lot of those characters. Oh, cool. Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, I that stuff was very inspired by this idea I had. I still don't know what, gouache. Yeah, I'm using gouache for almost all the stuff you're seeing here. I do use acrylics. Here's another page. Guys, this was hand-lettered on the artwork. I can't overstate how nuts this was. The sound effects, all of that stuff was hand-lettered. Nuts. Here's half of the double-page spread, which has been made to look much better now. His tail is like non-existent in this page, man. Craziness. Here is a color print as old as the book itself. This was printed. God, the colors held up on this print, man. But this is a Epson print of the cover of Springball #1, the original cover, not the new one. And it's from 2002, folks. Isn't that wild? Craziness. Here is some sketches for that kind of Miyazaki-esque comic story. Oh, here we go. Here are some sample pages. I was always trying new styles, man. Yeah, it was a cold day shrinkage. You're absolutely right. His tail was shrinkage. So there was a comic book by Brian Haberlin called Hell Cop. I don't know if you guys knew this, but I wanted to try to do a version of that character in this very linear style, like Al Hirschfeld, this caricature artist. He is best known for for inspiring the Fantasia 2000 Rhapsody in Blue sequence, and he did his artwork was the inspiration for the genie in Aladdin. So I was trying to do this very minimalist style, and I had printed out my own comic book paper. Here are from 1996. This is the first Springball story ever done. Oh my god, I didn't know I still had this. Wow. This is going to be in the back of Springball. This is going to be in the back of the Springball, yeah. The Springball first issue. For sure. The new one that's coming out. I've got so much archival stuff. Guys, this piece of artwork is from 1996. I showed this to this work, I remember clearly, to two people. Dave Stevens saw this And it's very inspired by the Max Fleischer Mechanical Monsters. That was the inspiration for this character. And Dave Stevens said, you should go tell Dark Horse to take another look at your stuff. And I was, even though they didn't care what Dave had to say, because at that point, they had their tension in their relationship. But that was meant the world to me. And Dave Stevens wrote me that postcard after he saw this stuff. And it said, I can read it from over here. To Shanth, good luck, Dave Stevens. I still have it over there where I can see it, man. Holy cow. Here it is. The original artwork for the cover of Spring Ball #1. Wow. Here's some more artwork from that crazy Salvador Dali story. Sorry, this isn't in order. Here is another page. You can see the Mechanical Monsters influence. And me, like there's Cary Grant running right there from North by Northwest. I was getting photo reference. There's an old jewelry store, bit of photo reference. Oh my God. Craziness to think about this. Here's an abstract design that I did for that same project I did to get my master's degree. Man almighty. God, I've got so much crap here. Wow. Here's just an experiment, guys. This is just an experiment right there. Like me playing around with like crazy Flash Gordon comic strips. Had a character called Amos Zing, and I was exploring him. Here's me designing an airplane for that world I did for my master's degree project. It was based on an FE-2B and a DH-2. They were pusher aircraft. Here are the layout pages for the story I did that Thomas Jane hired me to do for Alien Worlds. It was written by the late Bruce Jones, I believe. So these are what the layout pages look like for that. Wow, I should show this. Well, I don't know if Ethan would care. I should show this to Ethan at some point. But this was me doing a story where they were sample pages for the character of Ghost. And so I had in the story Ghost is taking a shower and it's in the Bates Motel. And then she, instead of getting stabbed, she pulls out guns and shoots. I was having fun. These are my sample pages I showed to Mark Chiarello. And back when I was a senior in college, and Mark Chiarello goes, I'll never forget this. He said to me, it's unusual to see this level of draftsmanship in somebody your age. When you get out of school, here's my card, call me, and I'm going to hook you up with some work. I never heard from him. I called him, and I guess there was no work. Guys, there's a million of those stories. For anybody you see in comics, there's a million of those stories of those times when you have those near misses. But there's no time like the right time. I guess Comicsgate is the right time. I guess this is when it was meant to happen. Because we're talking about decades. Actually, I just realized I got my phone number on there. Here's some Spider-Man pages. One of the figures on the Spider-Man pages I did, I don't know if it's in here. Oh, here's the story I was telling you guys about before. It was Abraham Lincoln fighting a steampunk Stonewall Jackson. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I drew a lot of weird shit. This was really influenced by The Fifth Element. Let's see what else I've got here. Here's these were all samples I was sending out to people to show I could draw and storytell. Here's Abe Lincoln and Stonewall Jackson. He had lost his arm, but right before he died in the Civil War, so he had a robotic arm, and then he also had a mask that looked like a train. And Train 331 was there was a train with 331 on the front that was one of the trains that took Lincoln across the country after he was assassinated. So I thought that'd be kind of a cool visual. Holy shiitake mushrooms. Okay. So, here are some more layout pages for Alien Worlds. This is the guts of my stuff. This is how I sketch. And then this is a more detailed layout page I did for Alien Worlds. Guys, this is all the jobs that never get published, the work that you do that nobody ever sees. Here is the second page of the Ghost, and you could actually see the Bates house and Norman running up, and the Ghost is coming out with the guns from that, because I was drawing from Psycho at that point, because I was trying to learn storytelling. Here is a full color page, or whoops, there's two here. These are full color pages from Spring Ball issue 2, where I was playing around with lettering. These are my colors, so pen and ink, and then colors. There's more stuff from Spring Ball issue 2, some prints. Here's more artwork from that idea I was doing as a part of my degree work. I was trying to blend all three forms of comic book artwork. So manga, American comics, manga, and bande dessinée. So this style was a cross between Osamu Tezuka, Winsor McKay, and Hergé. So that's what I was trying to do. Hey, what's up, Mighty Geek Studios? Great to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, guys, so to say Springball and Nosfero and Comicsgate are what I've been waiting for my entire life is putting it mildly. I've been waiting to tell stories without somebody telling me, funny enough, without gatekeepers telling me whether I can or not. So here's more stuff from that pages right here. I used to use blue lines, but now that I'm painting, I just go straight at it. Like I scribble with pencil, or sometimes I just go straight to paint. Here's another original page, inked with nib and ink. There's me doing my hand lettering on that. Okay, so this is something I did. This is a style I first explored in earnest right when I came back from my honeymoon. Let's see here. Yes, Metropolis. I'm a huge fan of Metropolis. Yeah, guys, Springball. Hey, what's up, Mechanoid? How are you doing, man? Springball, Nosfero, everything I'm doing is just an extension. Oh, you guys want to see a McFarlane-inspired rejected DC Comics sample? Ready? Here you go. This is Lex Luthor looking out over the city, talking to Superman on a frequency that, of course, only Superman can hear. God dang, man. Here is my crazy Frank Miller McFarlane-inspired Superman, Lois Lane, and Perry White in the office. And then he hears Lex Luthor. Isn't that a trip? I haven't seen this stuff in forever. Here's some more minimalist samples when I was trying to figure out what the hell I could get work doing. Guys, I did so many samples and tried so many things, man. It's crazy, man. I mean, I hope you guys are seeing when people say, this isn't even everything I've done. That's the crazy thing. But when you see people going like, how do you get good? How do you get good? How do you get good? While I was doing all of this stuff, I was doing freelance works, teaching jobs. Starting in 2005, I was raising we had twins, newborns to college. And still doing things like Flash Gordon, still doing things like this, losing, my wife's father, all that sort of stuff. Here's another, my favorite kind of logo, Speakeasy Studios. There you go. I was exploring that stuff then. Here's another page from Flash Gordon. I know this page well because my daughter has a little beauty mark right there. And this book was about Ming's daughter, very McFarlane inspired. Because the guy, funny enough, the guy who hired me to do this in Starship Troopers was a fan of Springball. It's such a trip how these things line up, man. So this story did get published in the Flash Gordon 75th anniversary, but I had Ming's daughter have a mole there because I didn't think anybody was going to get, annoyed by me with that. And because I wanted to make a nod to my daughter who was a toddler at that point. So let me see. Oh, sorry. If your dialogue scene panels have lots of energy and are really interesting to... Oh, wait. I feel like I missed the part of that. Oh, sorry. If your dialogue scenes / panels have lots of energy and really interesting to look at. Even... that's right. Not if. I got you. Even your... Oh, thank you, man. Sorry. I took the long way around to that compliment. Holy crap. Thank you. That is very kind of you, man. My God. I try to do that's what Springball has in it, too. So here's a printout of the cover of Springball 2. Look at how good these colors have held up, man. This thing was printed out decades ago. Good Lord. Look at all that crazy detail I was doing. Oh, here's the original. Son of a gun. There's the original. Oh, man, guys. I will tell you this much. Oh, I say this with love. Say this with love, guys. I am... How old am I? 48 now. Okay? 48. I've been in Comicsgate since 2019. And I have had a blast. And I still have a blast in Comicsgate. Like, period. It's so much fun. And I am grateful for every backer, every person who supports what I do. And it's like, after all of these years, working as a comic artist with a wife who believe, why does my wife even still, like, sometimes I look at her, I'm like, why do you still believe in this stuff? Like, why are you supporting me through this stuff? You know, good job as a college professor. You know, it's like doing all this stuff, and I was just like, I can't be a part of any institution or any kind of institutional movement that wants me to be a part of teaching kids that my wife and father-in-law and mother-in-law and my wife's family's race is evil. I dealt with like way too much of that stuff when I was growing up, and I remember saying to myself, I would never do that if I was in the same place. I just didn't think that God was going to make that call, to be honest with you. But when he did, I knew what I was supposed to do. And it struck me that the only place where I saw people who were like, you can do what you want, and understood consequences, like had family and consequences that came with it, were the folks I was following in Comicsgate, man. And it was scary, man. It was scary for me. And because I don't like to put my family at risk in terms of financially or anything like that. And I don't like Comicsgate because you know, I've made, you know, tons of money and all this stuff like that or whatever. Like, I mean, there's people who've made way more and been way more successful in Comicsgate, and it makes them miserable. I don't understand it. I don't understand. I'll never understand that. Because any generosity, any time anyone helps you a little bit, it's like, and I mean, in this case, it's a lot of it. Like John Malin and the launch, what was that? You know, it's like I was asking Mrs. Enjeti this about 2 days. Maybe it was the next day or 2 days. Everything blurred because I was not sleeping at that point. Like that was amazing. But, and I said to her, I go, did you watch the stream last night? She goes, you know what really got me? And I said, babe, what got you about the stream? Like, I'm curious. And she was like, I can't believe they all showed up to help you. Like, she goes, I knew John was going to host it. But she's like, seeing Mandy and Shane and Dale, you know, and Cecil, all these folks that we've been watching and who I've gotten to know over time, you know, and it was like, like Ethan popping in right off of his vacation to say hello and be there. It's nuts. Like, because I've been talking to all those guys for a bit, you know what I mean? And most of it you see is what you see is on stream. But it was just, that was real. Like, see this stack of artwork? Do you know what I mean? This stack of artwork is, I mean, this is the best way I can put it. This is a stack of trying and failing at figuring out where I was going to do comics and how I was going to do it. And I don't mean failing in terms of, yes, I've done comic work. Yes, I've done freelance work, but I really wanted to like find a way to do the stuff that I was creating and put it out there in the way that I imagined it and find an audience for it. And being an introvert, you know, it's like when you have someone like John Malin going, you got to get out there and stream. I'm an introvert too. That's always stuck with me. He's like, that's a shit excuse. Get out there and try things. I'm not gonna cry, Woden Shot, but I might. If I cry, I want you to wrap your wings around me, Woden Shot, and hold me close. And don't let me go. But this is like, Rocky knows this story. Rocky knows this story because, you know, Rock was there. Rock was there watching all of this stuff. I mean, I told this story when I had Graham Nolan on, but if you ever want to hear a really painful story, I can tell you the story about the time Imaginary Forces had all but like locked up. They said they were going to give plane reservations the next day for me to do the like artwork for the titles of Unbreakable before they found another company to do the titles, I guess. And but I was like, it was like crazy stuff. I was a newlywed. It was nuts. Here's the power demonstration page on SPRINGBALL. Every pose on this page, with the exception of this one, which has been completely redrawn, is completely new. Here's one of my favorite samples in the world. Yeah, actually, I should say this because what I said was I don't think I don't think I got the point. This right here is the victory of all of the artwork you're seeing. Nosfero is the first comic book that I've ever done that was as good as I could have done and as close to how I imagined it. And Comicsgate made that possible. Comicsgate gave me that opportunity. It gave me the opportunity to come in and work hard and receive the generosity of strangers and even fellow professional strangers. Do you guys understand? Like I have colleagues that I taught with for decades who were some of them, one of my best friends is one of those colleagues, and I love him to bits. But most of the people I worked with were the most conniving, scheming, took, my positivity, my enthusiasm, my desire to help, and just took the biggest offense to it. Do you know what I mean? The biggest offense, like everything I did that was positive, that helped all of them by bringing students in and teaching people how to paint and them becoming successful artists and case studies, they took as a slight because they wanted to be that person. And I'm like, well, then teach better. Learn how to fucking draw and paint. Sorry, every now and again. Why do you hate me for doing what you don't want to do and are too lazy to do? Why are you holding me back professionally and giving those opportunities to incompetent people? That's what I know. Like, that's all I've kind of experienced in academia. And it's depressing to see that stuff because all I wanted to do was help people, and even that was too complicated. You know what I mean? It's like it's so nuts, because for me, when I was as a teacher, I was getting that. So not just as a student, as a teacher, and I tried to protect, when I was teaching, really skilled students from having to go through what I went through. And funny enough, I should say this just as a positive thing, because I know you guys heard about the student who sent me a shitty, so your Comicsgate, well, I hope you enjoy Comicsgate, I guess. And I'm like, not even a hello, how are your kids, you asshole? Sorry. I'm trying to get right with God. As we say in the South, I'm really trying to get right with God, guys. Whew. Anyway, so, more Spring Ball. This was the cover for the never-released Spring Ball issue 3, and here's what I love about this. I did a printout of it without lines. And here's where you could already see that I was wanting to paint digitally. And I didn't even know I had done this until I printed it out without the lines. And I went, wow, it still reads. More Spring Ball pages. These are color prints with the hand-lettered stuff. Here's some more layout pages for personal stories. Sorry about swearing. Sometimes I get really annoyed with that stuff, and I'm trying to get right with God, folks. This is the triple cover for... I gotta hold this up this way, even though you're not gonna be able to see it, just so you can get a sense of the scale. This is the triple cover for Starship Troopers, Damaged Justice. And I was working on this cover, and this is the funniest thing about this cover. I didn't want to do this cover because I was ahead of schedule on Starship Troopers, and I didn't want to fall behind. And my editor, who was a saint and a really nice guy, said to me, Shanth, I really want a triple cover from you in your style. And I said, oh man, I'm ahead. And he just kept pushing me. So I said, fine. I'm going to do this. This is 2006. So my kids were 1 at this point. Or not 1 yet. They were almost 1 because I know the timeline. And as I'm working on this cover and I'm like, okay, I think I can still meet my deadlines. My freaking appendix ruptured. And I got to the hospital and I spent, they misplaced me in the queue. So I was there for 15 hours and my appendix fully perforated. And I started to get sepsis. I started to seize because I was just infected at that point. It was really bad. And it screwed my whole Starship Troopers schedule. The whole job was a nightmare. So not only did I have they turned 1 or 2 weeks after my surgery, which is so crazy. I just turned 30. I remember that. And so I'm like, I am trying to, every time I tried to make this shit happen, something like that would happen. And so it's like, if I could say, I know it's been, and believe me, I've been here for a lot of stuff. To me, the stuff going on in Comicsgate today is just same shit, different day. You know, it's the same thing. I come in, I do really well, I make money, I'm nice, I love Comicsgate, everything's great. Since 2019, I've been watching that stuff, man. I've made trailers, Comicsgate Kings intros for people, done all of this stuff for people who've done really, really well, been like, oh man, look at this person's stuff, they're doing great. No fucking envy or anima. I'm going to swear now. I'm sorry, guys, it just got uncorked. But no animosity, nothing, because I wanted to see Comicsgate succeed. I wanted to help people. And it has been incredibly disappointing. Not that, it's just to see people just piss away opportunities when I understand what those opportunities would mean for a lot of people with skill, and they can't appreciate those things. It's like, how do you not appreciate those things? And it's shocking to me, but it's I've seen it almost everywhere. You see it in the entertainment industry. I saw it when I was a teacher at college. People are always doing that. You know what I mean? And but it's weird because what shocked me the most about it all is, and maybe I'm losing this, you know, maybe that's a good thing in some ways, but how easy it has been and always has been for me to be enthusiastic for other people getting things and succeeding, and then how those same people can turn around and be so angry at other people succeeding. Like, that's not, you know, as they say, when people tell you who they really are, believe them. And I will tell you, when it comes to my personal experiences, as far as I know, you know, with Ethan and John in particular, and even Cecil, you know, too. I had a nice conversation with him just about doing a trailer for Cash Grab. My experiences with those guys have been really, really positive. And, but I don't need to be talking to them all the time, and I'm not in back rooms. I'm not doing, most of the time when you guys see me, I'm here. This is where you're going to see me, man. And other than that, I'm just making trailers or doing logos and things and trying to help people, because that's what I like to do. You know, that's what I like to do. And, some of my best memories and experiences in Comicsgate are ones that not a lot of people see, because they just happen when, you know, they're just personal interactions. And I've had some experiences that I really treasure, that make all of this stuff, this crazy stack of work, you know. And my history self-publishing comics, my first comic I ever did was when I was 14, my second one when I was 16. All of this stuff, I wondered is this ever going to go anywhere? And then I even said to my wife, I'm like, if I ever try to do comics again, I'm like, just stop me from doing comics if I ever try to do it again. And in her intro, and you know what, this is what I'm going to do. So I was on a stream with Shane Davis. You may have heard. And I tried to, I think I was a trooper. I stayed on that stream. And I was excited to be there, to be honest with you, and hear it. Well, Shane went through the entire Inglorious Rex issue 1, panel by panel, and what he was thinking. I'm a nerd, so that was an easy sell for me. It was so Wodenshot, you're killing me in the chat. Wodenshot says Shane Davis is the worst. What are you gonna do? And even then, man, when I was on streams with Shane or John, this is another weird thing you see happen, and you can't let it bother you. What is up, Over 101? You were a trooper, Hale. Thank you, I appreciate it. But you'd be surprised, man. When I was on streams with John and Shane for a bit, and people would just be going, "Who is this guy?" And, you know, like, no one had seen my work, or people didn't know anything. I've been here for a while, but nobody, you know, knows what does that mean to people anyway. It doesn't really mean much, but people were just like, "This guy, and I hate his laugh, and I hate this," and all this sort of shit. And you know, it's like, it's hard to kind of meet people when you've got, you know, that stuff going on, but you just have to kind of roll with it and say, okay, whatever. And then people get to know you, and they kind of can come around and go, okay, cool. You know, you can't take that shit personally, but it's got to be weird. Like, I know it's weird for me, because after my career teaching and all that stuff, it's hard to trust people. It really is. And after a while, you kind of get to figure out who people are over time. So that's... Was that the stream Shane and Yanzi sexually harassed me? I consider it to have just been Shane. But that's just me. Harassed you, their pillow talk on stream. I'm affected, says Wona Shot. Man, see, so let me tell you a story about Yanzi that Yanzi doesn't know. Okay? I've told it to Shane, I think. But I don't think I've ever had the chance to say this to Yanzi, or, like, I don't know what circumstance it would be. But Yanzi was talking about reviewing some comic where she was saying that that people can only identify and like people unless they see characters if they see themselves represented. And Yanzi made this comment because they're a marriage in a way like my wife and me, in terms of my wife is Scotch-Irish and Italian, and we were both born in Texas, funny enough, but and I'm Indian, Austrian, Puerto Rican, so we're not the same color, so to speak, like Shane and Yanzi. And Yanzi goes, if you can only identify with people who are the same color as you, then I think you're the problem. And I showed that to my wife, and my wife bust out laughing, and she was like going, I like her, and I liked that. As corny as that sounds, my wife and I have that conversation all the time. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see people who have similar hobbies and interests, and she likes, Lovecraft. So here we go. Here's your cheese, as my allergies make me unable to breathe through my nose. Here's your cheese for the evening. This is actually, hang on a second. I'm gonna mute myself and blow my nose, because this is. My allergies are rough. Let me tell you something, guys. I was blowing my nose the other day, and then it made a suction sound afterwards, and my wife was like, do we need to take you to a doctor? And I'm like, my allergies have been so terrible this season, so my apologies. And I am a mouth breather, certainly, Wonshot. I'm certainly, yeah, or Eric Huffles, I am definitely that. Yeah, no more love line streams in CG. Yeah, that bloody meme keeps on popping up every month. Hey, what's up, Simply Green? Was hoping you'd still be on when I got back. I am happy to still be on, Simply Green. It's great to see you. Oh, yeah. So I used that for a while, and then I got another one. Now I'm using this stuff called Astapro. And it's like, basically, I think it's like Benadryl for your nose. And it works pretty well. It's just, man, my allergies are terrible, man. We have a pet rabbit that eats hay, and I'm allergic to grass like you wouldn't believe. So here you go. Here's my wife's introduction. I'm going to try to read this, but I'm illiterate. But she's the person who knows me the best, and it's one of my favorite. I was amazed she wrote this, man. Ugh. I don't even know if I can read it. I feel like I should make her read it. Oh, here you go. So here, if you want to know from the person who knows me the most, person I've been married to for 25 years and known for 28, here you go. I offered to write this introduction for my husband's comic book Nosfero because other than the artist himself, no one else has had more of a front row seat to its creation. Am I a spectator, a participant, or perhaps even a survivor of this process? Probably a little of all three. The one thing I know for sure is that the comic you are about to read is the result of a passion I have witnessed grow over decades. A passion that began when he was a 14-year-old stuck in a tiny town in Tennessee. A passion that dimmed for a while, but is now brighter than ever. When I met Shanth in college, one of the first things I learned about him was that he was going to be a comic book artist. In fact, he already was, having done an issue of a comic book for First Light Comics at age 17 and self-published 2 books. Self-publishing in the 90s was not easy. There was no internet, no way to advertise beyond your small town, and the print runs and costs were high. Still, the young man had a dream, and he made it a reality. And although his art school education tried to beat it out of him... I forgot she wrote that. Although his art school education tried to beat it out of him, he maintained that dream through college and beyond, self-publishing 2 more issues of a comic book called Springball. This seems so like we had a plan for Springball, but we did not when she wrote this. It was around this time that we got engaged and married, So this was my first time watching the endless grind that is creating, writing, drawing, coloring, and publishing a comic book. In the early 2000s, self-publishing had gotten no easier, and soon the light of Shanth's passion was beginning to dim. Other dreams were pursued and fulfilled, including starting a family, teaching, and becoming an accomplished painter. At times he said he'd never draw comics again, but I knew better. This woman's amazing, man. Once a passion, always a passion. That's how it works with the two of us and why we get along so well. With the advent of Comicsgate, that little voice inside his head, which he says he doesn't have, but that's a story for another time, began to again consider drawing comics. After successfully crowdfunding 2 art books of his paintings, Autonomous Treks and Rigor Mortrex, it was time to get back in the game. This time the internet is a thing, and it's far easier to reach a wide audience. As his wife, it has been incredibly gratifying to watch my... Oh, Jesus Christ. It has been incredibly gratifying to watch my talented and hardworking husband be able to share his amazing paintings and stories with the world. I have watched as he built... She's fucking up my reading. I have watched as he built a following on Instagram and YouTube, streamed seemingly endlessly, put up with trolls, painted comic pages, wrote scripts, did commission work, made intros for other artists and himself, streamed some more, painted some more, day after day, rarely taking any time off. For Shanth, there is no line between day and night. This is kind of weird. Rarely taking, work and vacation. I know some of you reading this do the same thing, and so you know what a labor of love this book really is. Shanth is actually, oh, for fuck's sake. Shanth is actually a very modest man and an introvert. Although he may seem to have God, I can't fucking read when she says shit like that. Although he may seem to have a boundless personality on streams, he is a thinker and a man who has been through a lot in his life. Fucking woman. Some of the things he has overcome would have stopped... Oh, Jesus Christ, honey. Would have stopped a lesser... okay, I can't even read that. I like to think that the support of myself and our children has been a help in his success, but I also know that much of it is due to an unending level of perseverance inside him. Watching this man and literally growing together with him has been one of... Oh, Jesus Christ, I'm not reading that. Okay, I can't read any of that. I believe that one of the most righteous things you can do in life is to bring... I hate reading compliments, man. Life is to bring beauty into the world, to leave it having added something to it that no one else could have, and something that enriches the lives of the people lucky enough to have experienced it. For me, that's what this comic book does. And it's as and if it seems that it's a heavy burden for a comic book to bear, it isn't. Storytelling through art is one of the most basic and traditional forms of communication that humanity has. This is a worthy addition to our grand tradition. Thank you for supporting it. Thank you for reading it. Thank you for being patient while it was lovingly created. Shanth Enjeti, July 2023. There you go. So, yeah. That's what you're supporting when you back the Nosfero Second Chance campaign. That's what you're getting when you back SPRINGBALL. This is the family you're supporting. This is the I don't even know what I did to deserve this person. All I can think is she did something really bad in a previous life. Because I can't square it any other way. But she said hi Comicsgate on streams. She's all in, man, with Comicsgate. I can't say it any fairer than that. She has watched all of the Mike Miller stuff go down. She has watched, we have been here for a long time watching stuff happen. She's looked at me and just been like, what is going on? I remember when I woke her up when the first thing I told her in the morning after I found out late at night that Andrea had been diagnosed with Parkinson's. That was the first thing I told her in the morning because I just was gutted and I needed to share it with her. And when we heard that she had the less aggressive form of Parkinson's, I woke her up to tell her that news. You know? When John Malin was led out of C2E2 and did stuff that, I don't meet a lot of people who do things like that, you know? Like, I remember walking into school during Gulf War I, and I was dealing with a lot of bullshit, even though it's like, what do I have to do with that? You know, but I was dealing with a lot of shit. I remember, like, how brave you had to be to kind of, like, walk down a hallway of people who were not thrilled to see you. And watching John get let out of C2E2 and keeping his shit together, and then actually doing what I always believed was the most important thing, which is handle the situation in such a way that it gives the most opportunity for a positive outcome. Those are the people that I've gotten to know, and my God, has Cecil made me laugh till I can't breathe, man. You know, he's made me laugh so fucking hard. Swearing again, I'm working on it, trying to get right with God. Oh, God help me. But I remember, like, streams when I was commuting to work 90 miles and I would come home and I was doing my art books and I'd watch, you know, Ethan on High Council and all that stuff, like back in those days when there was no one talking about how bad Star Wars was. And I met a lot of friends, like my friend Michael King, through that stuff, man. It's like, I didn't think I was going to get to know, and I got to put that up on stream, man. Yeah, hail Cecil indeed, but I got to say based Mrs. Enjeti. Yeah, she is, man. I'm annoyed you get me, man. Oh my God. But it's like, she was at conventions trying to help me sell Springball when it came out. And I'll never forget, like, she was always really good when we were at conventions at spotting people who needed a little bit of extra attention. And there was this one time, there was this kid he was in a wheelchair. I don't know what was wrong, what the condition was, but I think it was probably birth related because it didn't look degenerative. So it could have been, you know, I don't know what it was, but he was in an electric wheelchair and everything like that. And he was with his 2 teenage friends, but he was like about 15, right? And we're selling Springball. We're at Chicago Comic-Con, I think it was. And he comes over, starts talking to me about my artwork. And I'm, of course, this is how I am all the time. Like, this isn't an act. This isn't something I put on. Like, I went in to substitute teach at my wife's job because a friend of hers was getting some surgery. And that's just what we do here. But I went in, and one of her coworkers looked over at her and go, "Is he always like this?" And she's like, "He's always like this." But there was this kid in a wheelchair, and he was with his 2 friends. And you know, when you're in a wheelchair and you're a parent of a kid who's a teenager, you're trying to let them be independent, but they can't get anywhere unless they're in a special vehicle, right? So you can imagine this kid's situation. Hail, Paulus Arts. It's great to see you, man. Hail, David D. And so I start talking to him, and we're like, and you know how it is in a convention. There's a lot of people going by, and if you're in a wheelchair, it can be kind of tough to navigate. So I said, "Hey, man, why don't you come around to our booth, and I can show you my artwork and talk to you about it." And his friends came around, and all of a sudden, he was cool for a minute. You know, my wife and I are talking to him, and he's there with his teenage friends. And I look across the way, and his mom is like standing, like the sweet mom, like she's standing 15 feet away, trying to give this kid some freaking independence, man, with his friends. And she looks at me and she's like, can I go? Like just a little further away so he can have that teenage thing that he's not allowed to have very often, because to take a trip somewhere to have all his gear to make sure he's okay. And I was like, yeah, go. And so, it was so fun to make that kid feel like the cool kid. You know what I'm saying? That's what comics always were for me, and that's what comics do for people. You know what I mean? And I love comics, and I love writing these stories. And Nosfero is about a kid who is in the worst possible circumstances, and it's not autobiographical, but it's not something I don't know. And but I've met people who've been through things I can't even imagine, and those people inspire me, you know, to work through stuff. And I wanted my heroes to not have the most auspicious of beginnings, but to overcome those things. Like Conan and John Milius's Conan, where he's on like the wheel of pain and his whole, you know, family is wiped out. And he's like, I'm going to keep going, and then I'm going to become a hero, and I'm going to defeat evil. That's what Nosfero is about. Springball has a really interesting story too, but I don't want to give too many spoilers away. But it's like, guys, make sure you are, you know, just cultivating the good stuff that there is to cultivate in Comicsgate, because there is a ton of it. There is a ton of great stuff happening all the time. There's people putting cool work out, cool books out, and people who are genuinely trying to uplift and give people opportunities. And to me, one of the things that one of the things that I cannot, what's up, McShort? How are you doing? Long time no see, man. Not much. I'm just rambling, man. I'm just rambling on this stream. But one of the things that is the hardest thing for me to understand, especially when even when I receive it these days, is when you do stuff for people and they don't appreciate it and they throw it in your face, because I think appreciation is not something, and gratitude is not something, it's like a chin in boxing. You can't train gratitude at a certain age. You either have it or you don't. You've either learned from experiences and empathy or whatever to appreciate people's support, people's kindness, and more importantly, someone like John having me on a stream, hosting me on a stream. And I've been crying the whole time. Make short, it's been heavy, says Eric Huffles. God bless you, Eric. Thank you for being a channel member, man. All of you guys are so important to keeping this whole thing going. But it was very tough for me to reconcile, and in the most wonderful way, to sort of show up for, like, sometimes it can be tough. Like, it's easier for me. Maybe that's what teaching was about. Maybe it's just a part of me. It's always been easier for me to help people than it is for me to sometimes ask for help and get more than help, have people's support. And it's been really crazy to watch not only the stuff that's happened with Nosfero, but the stuff that's happening with SPRINGBALL right now too, because I'm so proud of all the stuff I'm doing. And it's nuts, man. And I've been on streams where I don't even know Mandy. I've never even, like, we've just been on streams a couple of times, but Mandy has sent me links tons of times. Sometimes I'm just passed out. I'm like asleep or I'm incoherent or both. And she's like helped me to sell Nosfero and stuff like that. She showed up for the SPRINGBALL launch stream, and I'm like, I don't know that, even though we grew up probably, like maybe a couple hours away, because I grew up in Chattanooga. I think she's from Alabama or somewhere originally. That's where my wife's family's from, or half of them are from. But it's like, my wife always hears Mandy and goes, she sounds like my family. Like, she sounds like how I grew up. And so she likes Mandy for that reason. But check out Mandy's Stuntman Comics, by the way. Guys, there's tons of great links Eric Huffles is posting in the chat for all of this stuff. And I've got more links in the description. So, guys, make sure you're checking out all those books. Comicsgate, man. Comicsgate. That's why I'm where I'm at. And everything I do is sort of, I always think of it as super horror comics. Like superhero comics, but it's got a Lovecraft kind of thing. And a lot of people use the term Lovecraftian, and I never thought I would be, because I am not the greatest reader in the world. But Lovecraft is my favorite author. I love his stuff. I've read so much Lovecraft, and I'm obsessed with it, and the minutia of it, and I know the streets he walked. I'm in the state that he lived and died in. Like, that's the way it is. And so I have a very clear vision for Lovecraft that I don't really see represented in a lot of work. Like, most people don't get how amazing Lovecraft was. I mean, there's a lot of people who do, by the way, and thank you. But that's why I say, yes, indeed, back to Sweet Ass Book, 20 years plus in the making. You're absolutely right, McShort. And thank you, and God bless you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, Mandy's a good egg when she's not storming off the stream. I like Mandy. Yeah, oh my God. So yeah, man, when I see Evil Dead, it gets a certain aspect of Lovecraft, like the shunned house aspect of it, right, and all that other stuff. And when I thought about the idea of SPRINGBALL being, Todd McFarlane and Steve Ditko's Spider-Man meets the Evil Dead, that was something that happened here in Comicsgate, where I finally got the full potential of this character, and what I'm writing is freaking so cool. So cool. And actually, there's another thing it's inspired by. So I talked about how it was inspired by Ditko's Spider-Man, but it's also inspired by this famous movie from 1928. Silent movies, not in its inception, but now as I'm writing this story. SPRINGBALL, in a lot of ways, is like The Man Who Laughs, because, man almighty, my allergies have been freaking horrible. I can't breathe. It's like horrendous. But SPRINGBALL is a bit like The Man Who Laughs in this one way. He's a hero who has, hey, what's up, Thomas Calamari? One of my former students. It's great to see you, brother. How you doing? Hey, Shanth, I hope all is well, and keep up the amazing work. Always an inspiration. See, I've got some good eggs out there. Thomas Calamari, he knows the presidents of the United States, my friends. He knows. When I asked him. He knows a few of those things. I remember that, Thomas. I think you knew Article 1 of the Constitution, if I'm not mistaken, but perhaps. I like to ask my students questions like that. But the thing I like about the man who laughs is he's got his face frozen in an expression. What's up, Antoine Dennison? Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. I've seen some of those, Antoine. They are amazing. And thank you, Professor, for being a channel member all this time. 100%, Antoine. I think about you all the time. Like the other day, like I think about stuff sometimes, and I was like, because the way my memory works, and Antoine, you'll understand this because you'll know this, but I will wake up and suddenly remember something that I fear I forgot to do, even though I remembered to do it. And one of them was something that I wanted to make sure I sent you an extra of something. And I went, oh God, did I do that? Like it was a couple days ago. And it's just how my mind works. But Antoine has been ride or die with Nosfero in this channel, and I really do appreciate it. So the interesting thing for me about Springball is during the time when Victor Hugo wrote the story, and then, of course, the movie in 1928 came out thanks to Universal Pictures and Carl Laemmle, the story is the idea of a person who is punished and forced to have this smile on his face, and he's the son of royalty. He's not the Joker in this book. He's not a monster. He's the hero of the story, and there's actually he gets to, spoiler alert, 1928. It's almost 100 years old. He ends up with the love of his life, who is this blind girl who's also been tortured by the same people he's been tortured by when he was a kid, and they grow up and they end up living happily ever after, like a fairy tale. But that got into me, the idea of having to have this smile all the time, and how whatever emotions you're feeling, you're trapped behind this one expression. Well, that is very much the story of Springball. No matter how he's feeling, no matter what he's got going on, he has got this perpetual kind of almost clownish, impish frown. So even if he says, I'm really happy, that's there. And the face was put on him much like it was put on the man who laughs. When Springball was created, one of the main purposes he had to serve was to not make people have any empathy for him. That was a part of his origin story, and I won't tell you the whole thing. I've given so many hints, people can probably put it together. But he was literally designed so that humans wouldn't have empathy for him. And in spite of all of that, as you guys know, as life goes, he's found his friends. In his 13 years of being this hero in this town, he's made friends. He's got friends with people, but he's dedicated himself to being a hero because that's just in his nature. And sometimes I've wondered that question most of my life. What makes people who've gone through really difficult things or had difficult beginnings choose the light instead of the darkness? And I remember I had a friend say this to me, and he looks at things very interestingly. He's a pretty brilliant guy. And he said, if people who had terrible experiences in their life were 100% guaranteed to pass those experiences on, in 4 generations or 5 generations, there'd be no good people left. So the miracle, or the shocking thing, isn't that bad things happen. It's that out of the ashes of terrible things, good is seemingly rises again. So if you have to make that if you want to go down that road of saying evil can't be killed, you have to also say at the same time good can't be killed either. And that's what writing heroes and writing these stories is about for me. Is that Springball is, as far as he knows and as far as we're going to know in any of these stories, the first 3 issues, he's indestructible. He can't die. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't need to eat. He's alert 24 hours a day. If you had the gift of infinite time, what would you do with it? In a lot of ways, like Groundhog Day. Well, very quickly, he comes to the conclusion that I have a limitless, my physical limits, and I can only be in one place at one time, are all that's keeping me from doing as much good as possible around the clock. Wow. What would you do then? What this story starts with and what the story introduces him to is how deep evil goes. And in a way, that's what's going to help him reach his full potential. He's finally getting to a source of evil. I hope he's not dead. That would be terrifying. John better be alive. Because I can't handle that right now. John's dead. No, he's not. I refuse. I just lost Val Kilmer. I'm not losing John. That's not happening. Not today. John has to stick around. He's younger than me, for Christ's sake. He's got to at least stick around an extra year. When I go, he's got 1 year. That's how I don't think that science works that way, but it would be nice if it did. Pull up which thing? I have no idea what you're talking. Pull up. Let me know which thing. Wow. Terrible. I should have. That's right. I just went there. John is a sick man. My God. John, stop. Stop, John. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. What is wrong with you people? And by you people, I mean Michiganders. That's right, I said it. Dan Lawless is somewhere throwing his drink down, looking into the screen. I lived in Michigan for a little bit, too. Who knows? There might have been a time when all of us were in Michigan. I don't think so. John, I think, got to Michigan later. But anyway. Well, I'm glad John's okay. My God. So this is the truth. So my brother, Rocky, whose channel you guys should check out. Seriously, that guy, I've known him for 30 years, man. Him and my other brother, Arvin, man. It's like I've known those guys since we were the comic guys freshman year of school. And we were talking about Travis Charest and Jay Lee, who was his favorite artist. Funny enough, Jay Lee, of course, doing a killer CYBERFROG cover. Where the hell did I put that? But anyway, my brother, who was one of the big forces behind, SPRINGBALL being here by showing it on the Nosfero closeout, and then, of course, of John seeing it. I hadn't talked to him in a while, okay? This is the world. I gotta move this damn thing. I keep bumping into it. It's really annoying. Here we go. This is the world I live in. So, I'm not saying we're old, but we're getting up there, okay? No, John, you are the demons. That's right. Faye is now waiting for life insurance money. Her art is as good as his. There you go. Yeah, April the 1st, 2 days after. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. So this is the thing, right? This is a true crazy thing. So I sent him a text message, and I would show this to you guys, but it's hooked up to the camera. I'm using my phone as the camera. And I say, hey, man, how are you doing? Long time no talk. And this guy, you know what? If you're subscribed to his YouTube channel, unsubscribe. Like, seriously. He doesn't deserve it anymore. Because this was awful. And his response to me was, with no context, right? And it's not like you ever know how anyone's day is going. He didn't know how my day was going. He sends me the message back, I'm dying. And I'm like, what? I text him back in all caps. He's like, no, I mean, it's like work is stressing me out. And I sent him a message back and I said, don't ever text me that with no qualifiers. He's going to see this tomorrow and he's going to know he's in trouble. He's going to know that. Oh my God. Faye just launched Graveyard Shift 6? What? Did he not say thank you when you said happy birthday? That's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah, that's how I end friendships of 30 years is with petty bullshit. Lord almighty, guys. It's interesting. This reminds me of something else, man. Because this is a rambling. This is what the Waffle Odd streams always were. They're rambling streams. I had a conversation with a comic skater once a while back, who's not comic skate anymore. And one of the things I said to him when I was trying to chill him out. What's up, Jordan Horst? How are you doing? On the many times I tried to chill him out, the many times I tried to give him perspective, the many times I tried to do that stuff, one of the things I said was, I go, to me, one of the most decadent things you can do ever, and I see people do this all the time, and I think it is just unbelievably decadent, is to just toss aside friendships and relationships in having a fit. You know? When nobody did anything really to like horribly wrong you or anything like that, but you just decide this person is doing something I don't like, so I'm just going to toss this freaking relationship aside. But yet people still do that. People still do that. And I don't... Believe me, when I want to end a relationship, yeah, doing all right, thanks. I'm glad to hear it, Jordan. Glad to hear it. When I'm done with somebody, I'm done. Rest assured. But it's not over trivial stuff. It's usually over somebody doing some obnoxious stuff, telling me who I can and can't hang out with, and attacking my character, and, you know, to my face, by the way. Not even behind the scenes. Not even having the dignity to do that, which is not very dignified anyway. And it's like, but I don't see... I don't get angry at people for petty reasons and nothing going on. I think that is just bizarre. And so I don't get that. Because you know, life is too long to hang on to stuff like that, particularly when people help you and do nothing but like positive stuff for you just because of ego or anything else. I'll never understand that stuff, you know. And it's and I think that's the stuff that's really worth having. And this is a really interesting thing. And thank you, Eric Huffles, for continuing to post Spring Ball in the chat, guys. Your support is needed to make this happen. No comment. But the thing is that I look at things and I go, or I look at situations and I go, like I was looking at Spring Ball when I was going back to the book, and there's a character in the book who is sort of like a detective. He's like a police detective, and he is the relationship in the original Spring Ball release from 2002 was kind of adversarial. They were kind of arguing, and they just got a couple pages together, and they're arguing, and it's kind of like, you know, tense. And that's what I thought drama was when I was 25. And then I was like thinking to myself, what the fuck am I doing? God, I'm trying not to swear, but it's really hard. I thought to myself, what am I doing? There's enough negativity. Are all relationships between people? Is there a way to create relationships like David Michelinie used to do when he was writing Amazing Spider-Man? And that happened between the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Mirage comics, the way they care about each other. You know, there was, the Rocketeer, right? With PV and Cliff Secord. There were these great relationships. And I'm like, why does everything have to be adversarial? And as I was writing this story, all of a sudden I completely changed the dynamic of those scenes between his contact in the police department, whose nickname is Drook, inspired by Jericho Drook, the first the shadow agent, who was a black shadow agent of the shadow. And I wanted to pay sort of homage to Jericho Drook, who I think was an inspiration for the naming of Jericho Jackson and Action Jackson. So it's amazing there's this sort of history there. So I wanted to pay homage to Jericho Drook with this character. And his name is Andrew K. Todd. And it's not for Todd McFarlane, although I'm sure people will think that. It's actually inspired by Inspector Todd from Beverly Hills Cop, who's one of my favorite characters of all time. But so Drook is talking to Spring Ball. I don't know if this is a spoiler, but I don't care. I'm tired and it's late. But they're talking. And they have this funny little banter where he goes, and Spring Ball says to him, "What did I ever do to deserve having you as a friend?" Like, what sin did I commit? And Drook is like, "You don't remember? You saved my life, man." And Spring Ball is like, "Oh yeah, that's right. That's what it was." And Druk goes, do you remember what I told you when you did on that day? And he goes, that I'd live to regret it. And he goes, yep. And he starts laughing his ass off. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, actually, no. I've known a few Andrews, and I've had great experiences. But that dude, I don't understand. I got to be real with you. Doesn't keep me up late at night or anything like that. But I'm always amazed. I'm always amazed, like, what people, because, like, you know, for me, like there's certain MMA fighters that I really like. There's some really cool, like, serious professional fighters I really like. Yeah, like, no nonsense people, like, and he just doesn't fit the bill for fighters that I could be even into, you know. It's like, or people who have a fighting background, let's say. Like, I like Volkanovski. I think he's awesome. Is it Topuria? Is that who it is? Ilya Topuria, I just watched recently. I've been watching him fight. Who's, for a short guy with short arms, that guy can close distance. Like, that is some crazy stuff. His footwork is insane. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off on a fighting tangent, which is never hard for me to do. But when I was writing those characters, it's just the idea of some of your best relationships, you know, come from those setbacks, you know, and that's one of the things I've really tried to teach my son and talk to my son about a lot, which is, and I mean, frankly, any young men, where it's like, you know, don't be so, like, all of us can get caught in that little thing, and you see that happen a lot in Comicsgate, but it happens a lot everywhere. It's even worse in academia. My father-in-law, the first time I met him, you want to hear something weird and really funny. I don't tell this story a lot. But you want to talk about meeting my father-in-law. I loved my father-in-law. He passed away in 2009 from complications of his cancer treatment, but I miss him every day. Love that guy. The best father-in-law you could ever imagine, right? Love this guy. And just an incredible dude. Anyway, so I go to meet him, and one of the first things he said to me is, he goes, you know, I see a lot of guys mess up their relationships who are young doctors. And I'm like, I just have been dating his daughter for like 6 months. I'm meeting this guy for the first time. He's always talking to me about doctors who cheat on their wives. I'm like, this is tense. He's taking me for that walk, you know, future father-in-law walk. But I don't care, because I've been in tougher situations than that, you know, like, you know, and I'm like, and I'm just happy to be talking to this guy because he's a great guy. And he says to me, but you know what I've realized, son? And I said, yeah? I said, yeah, Lewis, what is it? And he goes, the grass is brown on both sides of the fence. And I just bust out laughing. I was like, this is the darkest stuff I've ever heard from a guy. I told my mother-in-law that. She was laughing so hard because it was so very him. But this is the thing, right? I didn't come into Comicsgate thinking it was going to be 100% different than all the petty office politics that happened in academia. But I had watched it enough, and I'd been around it enough and in it enough to know that it was much more, there was much more, he was based, beyond based. Awesome dude. But one of the things that was crazy to me is, I said, I've tried mainstream comics. I've worked in a lot of different fields, and I've tried academia now. And I had just read, Anthem by Ayn Rand. I'd read Atlas Shrugged, and I was really and my wife and I both read it. And we both loved it and were shocked at how astute it was in terms of what we were seeing going on. And I go, but I think there's a chance in Comicsgate that if you're good and you work hard and you are professional, which I know how to do because of teaching for God knows how many years, and then, you know, concept art and doing all this stuff. It's like, if you can keep things balanced and do this, if you can actually build something with merit that you own in the space, I think I could do okay here. And I think there's enough people who respond to merit and respond to, who have integrity and character, and if they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it. Certainly a better batting average than I was seeing in academia. Then I think I could make a go of it. And there was a conversation with Lauren, and there was, you know, we prayed about it because I knew if I came into Comicsgate, there's no way I could keep working in academia. Because even in academia, I met students who knew what it was and were like going, ugh, you know, and all that stuff. And I would say, no, it's not what you heard, but you can imagine where I would be, you know, here. It was a real choice. There was no scenario where I'm on streams and that's not getting reported by crazy woke students or woke faculty back to administration. There's no way. There's not a chance. And that was a full-time job with health insurance and all of that stuff, guys. You know, from a financial standpoint, it was a massive hit for my family and has been to do this stuff. But, you know, I can sleep at night. Actually, that's not true. I don't sleep. But if I slept, I could. I have a clear conscience, let's say, because I'm not a part of teaching people things that I think are fundamentally evil as far as, you know, racism and you know, disdain for this country, to be honest. And my colleagues have out and out said that. By the way, check out Pigman by Bosch. Bosch, I've just gotten to see, and we've shared the love of Frank Miller and all that stuff. His book is on Fund My Comic. And if you guys don't know this, I actually did when Fund My Comic started, people thought that the logo, they were getting some critiques about the logo. You know what's funny is I can't learn, sir. I cannot. I'm giving Eric Weathers painting lessons. I can't stop, man. It's like when someone's like, I want to learn how to paint. I'm like, let me help you. It's just the way it is, man. But this is the thing, right? Is oh yeah. So Bosch. Sorry, I got lost for a second there. I'm like I said, ever since I've been in Comicsgate, I did both of the Comicsgate Kings intros. I did intros, the intro for Graham, the intro for Shane, Let Your Tiger Out. That's a song that I played for my wife to make her, you know, smile. Like, that's where all this stuff comes from. I've did this Cecil's intros for the Cope Files and his end credits videos and things like that. I'm always trying to help, and I'm working on a trailer for him right now. I've done all this different stuff, but one of the things I'm happiest about is when Fund My Comic, people were saying, I don't know if I want to go over there. The thing that was, yeah, that's right, I was popping away. Shit. It's a reflex, man. I was like, oh man. So I saw them and I reached out to them and I took their logo and I redesigned it. So, and those guys were cool with it. So when you go to Fund My Comic, the logo you see now that's on their website and their banner, that's all stuff I designed. Like, I'm all in, man, when it comes to trying to do stuff in the independent space, because that's what it means to grab an oar, is to do stuff like that. So when I was playing around with trailer ideas for Cecil, would you guys like to see one of the trailer concept I just sent Cecil for Cash Grab 2? It's not very complicated or anything like that, but I just wanted him to have a video. Just put some ones in the chat if you guys want to see it, and then I'll try to upload it as best as I can. And we'll just see where it goes from there. And it may be a little bit tough getting it to play, but just let me know if I see some ones in the chat. I'll share the thing I was working on for him. But it's you know, just having a short little video to show of your work is really, it's helpful when you're selling it. Cecil's good at selling his stuff, but he's like Bosch. He's on Fund My Comic. And so, seeing people go to seeing what Fund My Comic is doing, which is not easy, and seeing how they're being supportive of free speech and supportive of Comicsgate creators like Cecil, like Bosch, like other folks. Oh, thank you guys. All right, okay, cool. I see it. All right, got some ones. Thank you, William. Thank you, McShort. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Sir. Thank you, Woden. Thank you, Over. Thank you. So I get everybody. Thank you, Eric. Okay, cool. Here we go. All right, so let me see if I can do this. I'm going to have to go to a video and then change it. So forgive me for that. And let me see if this works. So I'm going to start one video, pause it, and then upload this one. So hang on. there you go, guys. So, I wanted to do something fun and patriotic and then close with the Fund My Comic logo and things like that. So I'm still working, but it's, that was too fast. I got to play it again. Okay. All right. Here we go. One more time. Let me see if I can, how should I do this? Here we go. Let's see if this works. There you go. So yeah, so that's the stuff. I was doing that, working on that trailer for about 4 hours. I think I went to bed at about 4 in the morning, but I was just working on that trailer because take care, my friend, and have a good one, Aetherline. I hope you're well. And hail, let's see, over 101. Yep, there you go. You guys are there. All right, cool. Just making sure I say hello to everybody. So yeah, so I was working on that late last night, and it's the same thing, you know. It's like, any chance. Thank you, William Wellborn. I appreciate it. Cecil's really good at selling his comics, and he's really good at. I mean, God, man, he is so funny. And that show, Cope Files, doing the intro for that was so much fun. Because I just thought he's working so hard, and it's like even designing that background was a blast. Because I was, if you can help people, make their shows or make intros better, that's why I started doing stuff for Ethan. It just makes it easier for all of us, for those of us who are motivated to help people and put stuff out there. It just helps us to get our work done. And so that's one of those things. Wokies or jokies. Amen. So that was one of the things. I was trying to come up with a catchphrase that would be a shorthand, for Cecil. And I was like, comedy you read to make them cope and seethe. And I was like, that'll be perfect. That can just be something it says. And so that people get, because I know there's probably a lot of people watching Cope Files who aren't comic book people. And it struck me as being, yeah, that's true. I know it's a catchy phrase. There's something about it that hits me with guilt. Just a little bit. But it's like the amount of times Cecil has had me laughing. Yeah, hold on, panels and art just longer. You're right. Yeah, I should slow it down. I was trying to time it with the music at first, but you're right. I should slow it down. I also should reach out to Dan and get a higher resolution of his cover because I didn't have a high enough resolution of it. And when I go for those zooms, it gets a little pixely. Point well taken. That's a good thought. Yeah, I'll probably because once it's built, it's easy for me to do things like that, and I'll probably take another run at that. And I think there's a couple more effects I should do. Like I was thinking. Let's see. I don't know if this makes sense, but I was thinking about when I show the Cecil face that I designed. That's the opening or the closing for his show now for the where it's animation and you can see stuff in his glasses. When I made that, it had the animation that's around even in this trailer. But what I was thinking would be cool is if I had the teeth have a little bit of a ding on them. Could be fun. Just a little something extra to make it fun. When you see that opening logo, I think that could be really cool too. But Cecil was so funny. Like I just was like, hey, can I, let's talk about how we can help you sell more stuff. And that's the fun. Yes, see, that was the fun thing. I was trying to get something that was like pomp and circumstance, kind of patriotic music, a little sparkle. You know what I'm talking about. Although Shane brings the glitter vampire. He does bring the glitter vampire. You know what's unfortunate? Okay, Wodenshot, I'm going to agree with you on something here. If you're going to air your grievances with Shane, I'm going to air mine. Although, they're not really grievances, to be honest. I can't believe I still haven't had a sit-down, in-depth, God, I cannot breathe, in-depth conversation with Shane about Nosferatu. I don't know what it would be. We'd probably just be like, it's really cool. But man, do I like... yes, absolutely. That was my goal, right? That was my goal. I wanted to make that work. So let me see if I can find this. That's a really good point. Let me see if I can find this somehow. File, find. This is what happens when you don't have an internal monologue. You have to say everything out loud. Let me see here. Cecil. I have like so many folders of artwork I've made. I have 2 Comicsgate folders of all of the stuff I've done for Comicsgate creators, and in particularly for Ethan, like the King's intros and stuff like that took up so much space on my computer. It's now on a drive because it's so immense, the amount of stuff I've done. So every now and again I have to clear Comicsgate stuff off because it just takes up too much space. Let me see. It's not there. I know it's here because I emailed it to him, but maybe it's not. Oh, here it is. Yep. Here it is. Let me drag it here, and then let's see if I can do this. File, overlay, new image overlay, and see if this works. Desktop. Open. Ah, there we go. Do you guys see this? So this, and I'm going to move it just a little bit. How can I get to it? Huh. Oh, there we go. Fair enough. So this right here is the backdrop that I developed for Cecil to have on his streams in the background. So what I wanted to do, I haven't considered that yet, Woden Shot. I haven't. So when he started talking about the Cope files, I started thinking about the X-Files, and I was working on the intro music, which is kind of a play on X-Files. And I was thinking about, well, what could I do with that? And then I started thinking, how could I create an image that he could use as a backdrop? Because he was doing a blue screen thing behind him that would work to create a sense of atmosphere while he was moving and he was in apartments. And so this was the thing that I came up with for it, that both has a comic spinner rack, shows the comics he's doing, but also has all of these funny red lines going together, including a face reveal photo of Cecil that's public, that's slightly off to the side so that you can't see the whole thing. And then the red strings just go to, various things that happens. He's playing Fork Knife in his jammies right now. No, if he is, I'll go over there and watch that, man. That sounds more fun than anything I'm doing. But it was just really fun to do this because, I've known Cecil for a while, and I just thought, well, what can you do to, to help people, get audiences? And I saw when he was doing Cope Files, he was really committed. He's been working his butt off with Cope Files, and streaming like crazy to make this stuff happen. And so I thought, man, when you see somebody who's working that hard and doing stuff, you just want to help. And you want to just, you can do that, or you can want to tear them down. You never know. I feel like I've seen a mixture of both. The Batchild thing is gold, and never saw it because Cecil's fat is always in the way. Yeah, so I was, of course, I had to get Alfalfa on there, because if you guys don't know, I've told this story before, but I was a huge fan of Our Gang and Little Rascals and all that stuff when I was a kid. We'd watch the old black and white Little Rascals, and yeah, it's there's I make lots of nods to that with the He-Man Comic Makers Club when I do that show and interview creators. So I always like to hide Little Rascals Easter eggs in different things I do. So that was one of them, and it was too funny to play around with that stuff. But yeah, like I said, Batboy was Weekly World. Was a Weekly World news staple. You're not kidding. So yeah, right now, one of the coolest things about the stuff going on, Jordan Horst, personally, I'm sick of watching SJWs melt down. It's cringe as fuck. I wish Cecil would switch it up. It does start to wear on you, man. Yeah, He-Dogs, you guys know, the He-Man Comic Makers Club. We love He-Dog, man. So yeah, but it's a funny thing because I think that putting stuff out there and being able to make artwork and then being able to make entertainment and build stuff is crazy. Yeah, Cecil's like the Ed McMahon and Carson. Yeah, Tuesdays with Cecil. Yes, Tuesdays with Cecil needs to return. The cope is cancerous. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Tuesdays with Cecil is great. Yeah, it is. I mean, Cecil's just freaking entertaining. However, I think that the Cope Files potentially is bringing in, you know, some folks who wouldn't tune in otherwise. You know, I mean, I know that the Fandom Menace did that. I mean, that was really what made Ethan's channel blow up, was talking about Star Wars. I remember those days. That's how I found Ethan. And I'm a comics geek. I was a comic book fan who just got, like, you know, I was buying old stuff, but I wasn't buying anything new. And then when I saw Comicsgate and Ethan, I saw people were where the people were who were passionate about comics. Cecil is hate, Cecil is death. See, we're switching it up now. Yeah, it probably is really rewarding, that content right now. Yeah, you're right. But if it wasn't for, like, some people would say, oh, look at, you know, all these people jumping on board Star Wars. But I could tell that Ethan was like me. He's a Return of the Jedi kid. I think he is he a year or 2 years older? I think he's maybe 2 years, a year and change older than me. But we're kind of the same generation in terms of our pop culture touchstones. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, Night Show. I gotcha. Yep. Same. I saw his old SJW stuff. He spoke so funny back then. I remember the burning of the soy pants. Shoot, I remember the day that he had to come out and say DC hadn't renewed his contract. I mean, there were some, those times were dark. They were terrifying. You know, for Ethan, watching him go through all that stuff. I mean, it's incredible. It was incredible to watch him come through that. And it was actually, for me, there were two people. You want to talk about something weird, right? The only person I was seeing in my profession, academia, who was talking about this stuff, who was also a popular teacher, being attacked by his colleagues and being having his career messed with by students and colleagues, was Jordan Peterson. So I start listening to Jordan Peterson at the same time I'm listening to Ethan and his Star Wars High Council streams, but his Star Wars stuff. That's how I met him. Found out about him. I didn't meet him at that point at all. And so I start watching him, and then all of a sudden I'm watching Ethan's stream, and Jordan Peterson is saying, you're watching, you know, I'm Jordan Peterson, author of 12 Rules for Life. You're watching Comic Artist Pro Secrets. You know, hi, I'm Jordan Peterson. You're watching, you know, it was like hilarious. And I go, what the hell is going on? And then I learned that Ethan had illustrated 12 Rules for Life. And I was like, what is going on in this universe? Like, what is seriously going on? And yeah, guys, we got 100 people watching. Make sure you hit like if you haven't. If you're not subscribed and you're new here, do check it out. And I want to make sure I say this. Check out Ethan Van Sciver's CyberFrog 3. The link is in the description. But if you don't know who I am, and you don't know even what the heck you're watching right now, I've got 2 campaigns out. One for a comic book called Nosfero, and another one for a comic book called SPRINGBALL. I want to play those trailers real quick for you guys. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. These are 2 books I have live right now. Check them out if you love comics, and all different things for different people. Back both.
When footsteps fall in eldritch hollow.
We don't have to do that again. We've already done that once. Thank you guys for being here. So yeah, let me just say this, guys. Both of those comics are both written and illustrated by me. They may seem like two very different styles, but my love of color, my love of pulp, my love of horror movies and action, they're just two different ways of looking at the hero, and they're both aspirational books. They're both lovingly handcrafted. Everything in those books is, and neither one of those books or any of this stuff you're seeing right here would have been possible without Comicsgate. Bunch of guys, in particular, John and Ethan, because those were John, Ethan, and Cecil, I would say, were the first people I was regularly watching in Comicsgate. And without those guys, all guys my age, and we all somehow, about my age anyway, we all ended up here, and we've all had long, careers doing various things, and somehow we got thrown into the mix here. If it wasn't for those guys who were strangers to me before 2018 or whatever it was, I wouldn't have done my first two art books. I wouldn't have come back to comic books. They're why all this stuff is why that fire's been reignited in me, man. And it's like handcrafted and love crafted. Oh, that I'm stealing that, Mechanoid. That is awesome. Beautifully said. Oh, man. The chat is amazing, man. Comicsgate's amazing, guys. Yeah, one day I will look back and say I was there when SPRINGBALL launched. Yes, you will, before Netflix bought the rights and ball swapped it. 100%. Yeah, I'd love to see them try, because he's not a human being. But they did that with Silver Surfer, so not Netflix, but you can do it with anything. And speaking of, man, let me just tell you this too. Everything with me is going to be a long goodbye, because I love comics and I love what we're doing in Comicsgate so much. Best recommendation I've had in a while is this edition of Silver Surfer. Shane Davis showed this on stream. I'd never heard of it. It is awesome. And here's the coolest part of it. It's got the entire story. It's an oversized format of Mobius and Stan Lee's Silver Surfer. Rest in peace, both of them. But the biggest thing it has in it, has large prints of the Marvel posters that Mobius did. And the only other piece I saw outside of Mike Zeck's work that really spoke to me as an artist, because I think it was painted just like the Mike Zeck covers were, is the Mobius Punisher. And there's something about that weird Mobius texture as applied to Punisher that is also an inspiration for what I did with Nosfero. So yeah, that's how it goes sometimes, man. You see a lot of crazy influences. And so I've been looking for a print of this that wasn't that giant poster, because I had a postcard when I was in college of that, and I couldn't find it, and so when I saw that, I was over the moon. So here's just two more quick things before we wrap up, because I don't know if you guys saw this. I am also working, as I'm working on SPRINGBALL, I'm working on Nosfero, Death Will Die, which is going to every one of my Nosfero books has an influence of a silent film. Even SPRINGBALL has a little bit of that influence, because I love old horror movies, old Universal horror movies, both silent and the 1930s talkies. And this one is influenced by the German silent film Der Golem. And so I'm going to have my take on a golem-esque character in the world of Nosfero. And this is my take on a Dracula-like character that's going to be in Nosfero. And what I love about the design of this character, and is so fun, is if you look at him, he's got a dragon symbol on his chest right there. And that dragon symbol is the hammer and sickle. So I'm actually making an evil tied to communism thing with this vampire. And that's kind of the fun stuff that I'm playing around with in this book. And then, of course, because the art edition's only got two more... The art edition and the second printing have only got 2 more months left in that campaign, and then those things are getting done and printed. But this is page 1 that I've just started doing a little while ago, of Nosfero, Death Will Die, the second book. Every Nosfero book is a complete story, because I'm treating it like pulps. And so here you go. This is the level that we're going to go into this. So whether it's I'm working on Springball in digital or I'm working on this in traditional, everything is hand painted, handcrafted, and made for you guys, because we're making art here. We're making things that are beautifully produced. My books are all printed in America, because that was just important to me to do. And because I always say made with liberty in the USA. That's my logo design. You can get a shirt of this actually at TeePublic. The link's in the description. But I have a shirt of this because I love it. Made with liberty in the USA on all my stuff. But actually, I don't want to show the end of the book. But all of my books, don't want to show the end of the story. That would be a bad idea. But all of my books have bonus features in them where you get to kind of see like how I was, how I developed the idea and the behind the scenes. Springball will be no different. So Springball will have, that stuff, but you can actually see the paintings and process and how I talk about what materials I use and all that stuff. So if you're an art junkie, I show my layout pages. So if you're curious what my layout pages look like, you can get all of this stuff in the Nosfero campaign. Both Nosfero and Springball have this 2-month overlap period where you can get both. Nosfero's got less time left in it, and these books are expensive to produce. Yep, uncensored teaser. Yeah, it's got to happen, man. It's got to happen. And it's one of those things where this book costs a lot to print, because I go to a company that is professional at making art books and things like that. They did my first 2 art books, and they're doing all the editions of Nosfero. And their color reproduction is great. But we spent easily, 5 figures on the printing of the first edition of this book, and it is not a large print run. So we spent a ton of money on making these books as high quality as we could. And when it comes to Springball, we were going to make sure that we have a very great reading experience for you. Oversized like this book, 8.5 by 11. These are larger books, so I ship them with the magazine sized Gemini mailers, and I put cardboard on either side because that's really important. Is that a canyon? Yes. That's wow, good eye. Yeah, that's a canyon inside the Netherworld. So Laurel, who is our female lead in this story, based on the lovely Madeline Smith from the Hammer horror movies, who is a very sexy Hammer beauty, as we say, from the 1970s. She is the female lead, and she has a vision at the start of the book where she is seeing into basically the outer Lovecraftian world where the vampire are always trying to open doorways and let them in. Well, she sees a vision of a warrior trapped inside of that world. And so here the vampires are at the start of the first Nosfero. They're trying to open the gate. And then this is one of my favorite pages because it's kind of a page that you kind of turn to the side, even though it's not designed that way. And you basically realize, like, this is one of the creatures, the Lovecraftian creatures, that's trying to enter the world. And she is being sacrificed at the doorway to try to open the door for this creature. So it's a really fun layout. And I had a ton of fun illustrating it. So yeah, this book is just, gothic pulp adventure storytelling in the style of Hammer horror movies. Beautiful, vivid colors. The stuff that Jack Asher used to do with his lighting, where it was just these vivid Technicolor colors when he was lighting horror movies that go into almost every, horror movie, a theme park, an amusement park that you see today, including the Haunted Mansion. So Jack Asher did so much, Yeah, better to own 100% of yourself than 10% of don't know what this says. Even if your whole family gets invited to the after party. Yes, yeah, absolutely right. Yep, that's 100% right. Is that can't? Yes, good. I got that one. Just making sure. Yep, making sure I got everything. And thank you, Woj. I do appreciate that. Thank you so much, man. All right, guys. So, thank you so much. Oh my God, it's 5:10. My wife is going to be getting up soon for work. She's going to go, what are you doing? Her alarm's probably about to go off. Thank you guys so much for being here. I want to make sure, before I play the credits with all of my channel members' names in it, let me just say what I always say. From the heart of Lovecraft Country and the birthplace of American religious liberty, My name is Shanth Enjeti. You've been watching Shanth Enjeti Art. Speak easy, stay gold, keep the faith, and peace be with you. Thank you guys so much for being here. Give nihilism no quarter, folks. I appreciate you guys keeping me company, and I hope you had a good time. We'll do more late night waffle just because I think that's kind of one of the things we got to do. You know what I'm saying? And thank you guys for being here. I'm going to play the end credits with all of the channel members' names in it. So thank you, Jeremy Burtz. Thank you, all my channel members. Thank you, William Wellborn. It is great to see you. Thank you, is it Over 101, I'm guessing. Jordan, thank you so much for being here. Sir, thank you so much for being here. Let me see if I missed anybody else. Mechanoid, thank you so much for being here. Dimwitted, thank you so much for being here. Let me click on you. There we go. Of course, Jeremy Burtz, thank you. Let me make sure I got you on screen. Anyone else? Eric Huffles, thank you for dropping all of those links in the chat. I really appreciate you. Night morning, 100%. Thank you, McShort. Let me see who else I missed. Jordan, thank you so much. Peace, brother. Appreciate it. Mike likes tacos. Thank you so much. It's great seeing you in here. And I will talk to all of you guys soon. All right. Stay gold. I will see you soon. And here are the credits. Thank you all for being here. Take care.
Good morning, come on in. Coffee's good, fresh and hot. 24 hours a day. Just come on in. Come on in. You'll see. We're gonna treat you like your family. Just come on in. We're all